As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? WrestleMania Backlash is in the books. One of the most predictable pay-per-views that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I've been watching wrestling since '79, and trust me, back then we really didn't do predictions all that much. But I got to tell you, when you can predict every little aspect of this pay-per-view, kind of takes away from the fun. And when you really don't know what an outcome is going to be, you know, that kind of makes wrestling the most fun. Anybody that used my predictions today went perfect. Even the tiebreaker, perfect, was within 7 seconds of the match between Bianca and Bayley. No surprises tonight. Everybody retained their championship, with the exception of one. Congratulations to REY and DOMINIK MYSTERIO, making history, the first father and son tag team champions. And I know ESPN has already picked up on it. You know, look, it's a nice thing. It's a wonderful thing. I tell you, you know, I didn't have enough time tonight to splice all my predictions from Friday, but if you remember Friday, I was a little torn. Early on, my original prediction was that the Dirty Dogs were going to retain. Then, at the very end of my prediction, I'm like, you know, not for nothing, man. WWE has recycled those 4 tag teams wrestling against each other over and over and over again. And now with Jimmy Uso back, it seems like the Mysterios will not keep these belts all that long. Would not surprise me if the Usos end up taking the titles off of them. If I feel like trolling a little bit later, maybe I'll play a couple of clips from Friday's predictions. And, you know, this time around, I don't know if it's bragging that you predict every little aspect of the pay-per-view right. But I will say this. Braun versus Drew versus Bobby Lashley. Easily my favorite match of the night. You know, I think we know by now that Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley really gel nicely together. Braun Strowman, a little surprised tonight on how spot on. Thank God we don't get those train sounds anymore when he goes around the ring. I don't mind testing little things out, but that was just horrendously stupid. Now all they need to do is remove Riddle's birds. Get rid of the freaking birds. You know, but you know, the pay-per-view tonight, I got to tell you, some of the matches did not feel pay-per-view quality. Yeah, we had a little bit of cosplaying tonight. I don't know if anybody picked up on this. Charlotte coming out to the ring, and it's funny. Yeah, I saw so many people saying like, oh, she is cosplaying Chick-fil-A's cows. Are these people nuts? Are they nuts? For those that weren't sure, she actually was cosplaying this person. Cruella de Vil, no relation to Sonia. Is she from 101 Dalmatians? That's what her attire was like tonight. And we had a little bit of fun controversy tonight because some of you may remember this too, but wasn't it Frankie Monet that also cosplayed her once before? What did I do here? Oh, I know what I did. Got to put it like this. It's still not coming. What? Hold on. Let's put this like this. There we go. Let's put that like that. That's not right. Oh, you get the deal. I mean, if I go like this, sorry. Like I said, I didn't have enough time to really like prepare for tonight. There you go. Kind of looks the same. You know, you put Charlotte next to her. You know, look, back in the day, I remember when so many women were cosplaying Wonder Woman. Everybody dressed up as Wonder Woman. But when someone mainstream on TV finally got the chance to do Wonder Woman in a wrestling ring, everybody's like, oh, that's a ripoff of this person. Look, things are recreated all throughout wrestling history. You know, wrestlers use wrestlers' moves from yesteryear. They dress like them. They act like them. They do mannerisms like them. You know, that's how wrestling is. But I thought Charlotte looked great today. I know a lot of people are kind of upset at the way Asuka is being used. I don't think there should be any surprise. I mean, Asuka, it's her turn to step aside and let the focus be on some other women. You know, if any consolation at all, at least we don't have Alexa Bliss yet doing the hocus pocus on Asuka. Now, Alexa Bliss did not do any hocus pocus Friday on SmackDown. She didn't do any hocus pocus tonight with Charlotte, which some people speculated as well. You know, obviously something will transpire on Raw tomorrow. And now I'm starting to hear that you may actually get an update on Bray Wyatt within the next week or two. You tuned into Thursday's show. We talked a little bit about Bray Wyatt. You know, it's not a topic that I am going to discuss for the simple reason that people are guessing. You know, if you don't know the man personally, you don't talk to him personally, or if you don't talk to his close friends that kind of have a good idea of what's going on, I don't think people should speculate about depression. Of course he's devastated about his friend Brody Lee passing away. I think that would be common sense for any of us out there. By the way, Cesaro tonight, little tribute to Brody Lee with the lariat. Cesaro tonight, you know, look, this is going to be a quick recap. We really only had 7 matches. 6, if you want to include a certain Lumberjack match, which we'll talk about. And look, me, you know the reason why I didn't have too much of a problem with the Lumberjack match tonight. But let me say this about Cesaro. And look, I'm doing this live literally 60 seconds after the pay-per-view ended. Maybe tomorrow I feel a little different about it. But if anybody, you know, I'm sorry if it sounds like a broken record, but I really think a lot of you are going to agree with me on this one. You know, back in January, you know, we were talking about Cesaro and Nakamura. And when we really talked about Nakamura, we were just frustrated, like, why WWE is not using this guy, utilizing him better. You know, he's at the beginning of the tail, not I want to say tail end of his career, but Nakamura, you know, his peak may have already come and gone. And the guy is one of the most phenomenal wrestlers that they have. And then we started to see a couple of wins in January. And I remember it was New Year's Day that we were talking about Nakamura and Cesaro, but mainly Nakamura. And they started giving them some substantial wins. And all the reports going around was that Daniel Bryan was responsible for this. And then that one episode that we were like, ah, shit, the Royal Rumble is coming up. And it felt like they were doing that because they needed some SmackDown guys to have that aura that they could possibly win the whole damn thing. And Nakamura is a former Royal Rumble winner. And as soon as the Royal Rumble came and went, as did Nakamura's push. You look at Nakamura's use since the Royal Rumble, it's embarrassing. Now we get to Cesaro. The one question that we all had for the last couple of weeks about Cesaro was this. We know Cesaro is one of the all-stars of WWE, one of the most reliable, doesn't cause any backstage drama, shows up to work, doesn't complain, works his ass off, one of the strongest in the company, one of the most liked in the company. And we knew there's no shot of Roman Reigns losing the championship to Cesaro. We even joked about it on Friday, that Roman Reigns' promo talking about Fox doesn't want Cesaro as champion. Yeah, I kind of agree. Nothing against Cesaro, but Roman Reigns, he is the top dog, the big dog, the tribal chief. He is the #1 talent in WWE. Not even close. Roman Reigns has been knocking it out of the park. And this COVID situation really helped him because when you don't have to, worry about crowd reactions going against the grain, and you could pipe in what you want, you could direct it what you want, you could pre-record things, do this, have 7 backstage segments, which we talked about before. You could get a narrative. And guess what? Roman Reigns was handed the ball, and Roman Reigns transformed his character and has done a spectacular job of it. So there was no question of Cesaro winning or losing tonight. We knew what the outcome was going to be. The only question, 2 questions we had was, is there going to be a clusterfuck finish? Jimmy Uso getting involved, Jey Uso getting involved, Seth Rollins getting involved, which we talked about on Friday. Or, well, I shouldn't say or, and where does Cesaro's status end up after this? You might remember last week and this week, we said the same thing, that if Cesaro, even though he's going to lose this, if this helps bring him to the main event level, like Kevin Owens and a few others, where you feel his status is elevated, and you remember the little insult I did on Friday? Remember I compared it to babies that are teething? Cesaro deserved to be in the main event, but he needs a title shot. He needs to take on Roman Reigns. Tonight, after this pay-per-view is over, it feels like, okay, everybody, for everybody that whined and complained that you want Cesaro in the main event, there you go. No interference, no asterisk in Roman Reigns' win. You look at Roman Reigns' entire championship reign up until now. Usually there's interference. Tonight he beat Cesaro clean. What does that say about Cesaro? Does that feel like Cesaro is elevated to the next level? With Kevin Owens and some of the other feuds going on, there's always interference. Not necessarily with Jey Uso, but that was family. It's a different situation. But you see everything that's led up to now. There's always been interference. So blah, 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 lost. But there was interference. But there was always a but. After tonight's match, Cesaro lost and lost clean. You mean to tell me you couldn't have a little bit of interference to try to say, yeah, Cesaro lost, but... Cesaro lost, but... No buts. Clean, significant win. And to make matters worse, Seth Rollins comes out and takes the dog in the back of the woodshed. What was that famous movie, Old Yeller? Cesaro's not Old Yeller. Wouldn't be surprised if Seth Rollins tries to cut a promo using the Old Yeller reference. Seth Rollins comes out there and finishes the job. Takes Cesaro off TV. After tonight's pay-per-view, do you feel Cesaro's been elevated in any way, shape, or form? I don't think so. I think tonight might have been Cesaro's peak of the remainder of his WWE career. I don't know. If you feel different, post it in the comment section. the Donzil Army, everyone here for the most part, absolutely appreciates and enjoys Cesaro. And it pissed a lot of us off back in the day when you had so many fans in the Cesaro section, this and that. And, you know, might remember I brought up the Miro, the Rusev reference. You know, Cesaro section signs, yes, it was one person handing it out to everyone, but everybody got into it. Everybody was getting behind Cesaro, just like they were getting behind Rusev Day. And then you get the word that Vince McMahon told Rusev, they're not chanting for you because they like you, they're mocking you. You imagine in WWE's warped mind that the fans are not cheering for Cesaro section. It's more of comedy. It's more of just interacting. They're not really behind you. So I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned where this goes from here as far as Cesaro. Because now it seems like he's written off TV. I mean, he'd take a tack like that. You know, I don't see him going back on TV. Oh, and so cute. So cute. I joked with one website today. No maliciousness intended. But you see all the websites today? Remember this tweet. Seth Rollins will take on Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Bookmark this tweet. Frame this tweet. Remember this tweet when it happens. And usually when people write something like that and you see about 50 people doing it all within 6 hours ago, you know something leaked out somewhere. Earlier today, during Fox TV, they were airing the Pro Bowlers Association bowling. They were doing bowling playoffs. And while the bowling playoffs were on, one of the commentators on Fox, and I can't play it here, I don't want to get any issues with copyright, but one of the commentators said, Neer is saying who won the contest. Neer, literally 45 seconds after the pay-per-view ended, I'm here doing this live. I can't calculate scores in 44 seconds and then come here and do the show. I will calculate it in the next day or two. But during today's Pro Bowlers show, one of the commentators says, don't be surprised if you see Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at an upcoming pay-per-view. Somebody saw that, posted it online, posted the clip, and everybody becomes a genius. Bookmark this tweet. You heard it here first. Guaranteed. Now, I don't know how you go from tonight with Seth Rollins to him versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam with Seth Rollins being a babyface. I don't know if either one of them will be a babyface. Jane, spot on, Jane. What happened to Edge? He had a great WrestleMania appearance, had a great Royal Rumble appearance the day after Royal Rumble. Remember, 2 matches in 24 hours and wrestled about 45 minutes. Edge done. What's going on? What's going on? We have Edge off TV. We have Daniel Bryan off TV. We have Cesaro now off TV. You know, I mean, at some point, you got to have some other faces pop up. So maybe we will get someone. But I agree. What's going on with Edge? I mean, I understand selling the WrestleMania injuries, but, you know, we're 5 weeks later. You know, who knows? Maybe Edge shows up on this week's SmackDown. I mean, you almost feel like they have to bring him back in the next week or two. You know, we don't want this to start turning into the annual Undertaker tradition that Edge works 2-3 matches, 4 matches, and that's it. You know, I mean, we got that with Undertaker for over a decade, and it was nice. It was nice. I mean, Undertaker obviously deserved, you know, the limited career, and we still got a chip. But Edge, you know, showed that this man can still do it on a more regular basis. So I don't know if this is, what's up?
Sorry to bother you, but real quick, remember that friend we saw in the kitchen yesterday?
I'm doing a show.
I'm just letting you know it's on top of the bathroom sink.
Water bug. Sorry, everybody. Water bug. I hate water bugs, by the way. Sorry about that. So, you know, Edge could still do it. And if this is simple storyline, now, one good thing about it is they are going to return to live fans very, very soon. July, August, July, August, July, August. This is what we've been saying since last year. And it seems like July is going to be the one. Now, big news coming out of this pay-per-view tonight is Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell, if I'm correct, usually takes place in October. This year, they decided to have Hell in a Cell take place in June 20th. That may be the last pay-per-view before they go back to live fans in attendance. A lot of you out there are asking, why are they doing Hell in a Cell in June instead of October? First of all, coming out of tonight, it feels like Hell in a Cell, and I got news for you, as ridiculous as this sounds. You know, a lot of people in the past, and I'm one of them, that always felt that WrestleMania, the day after, the Raw after WrestleMania, is where the storylines, go in a different direction. I don't want to call it the season finale, but the Raw after WrestleMania is always when it felt like, okay, here's where this goes in this direction, and we get all new feuds going on. This year, it feels like Hell in a Cell, the day after Hell in a Cell, might be your Raw after WrestleMania, if anybody understands what I'm talking about. Remember WrestleMania this year? It was nice to have fans back in attendance. But do you remember the Raw after Mania? Nothing happened. And the Viking Raiders are back. Nothing happened. That SmackDown, nothing really happened. And we were like, where's the surprises? What happened to Becky Lynch, Brock Lesnar? What about someone? Nothing. There was nothing. If you watched the Raw after WrestleMania, you would have never felt like there was WrestleMania the day before, for the most part. Now I'm starting to think, because they're going to be this close to live fans back in attendance, the Raw after Hell in a Cell is going to be the start of the new season. So we may only get a 9-month season, and next year for WrestleMania, they'll go back to what they were doing before. And the reason why I say that, too, is Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, this has to come to some conclusion very, very soon. These three guys are not going to feud with each other intertwined for the rest of the year. They have to move on to something else. And if you notice, T-Bar and Mace, suddenly for 3 weeks, they're nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Nothing tonight either, which is actually a good thing, because we actually didn't want to, if you remember Friday, we didn't want to see that. But you almost feel like they keep a T-Bar and Mace in the background, and maybe they start feuding with Drew and Braun once again. So I think Hell in a Cell this year will be the culmination of Bobby Lashley versus Drew. Maybe Braun Strowman is put in there as well. You might have 3 guys in Hell in a Cell, which actually I think would be a great idea. Also, as far as some other feuds, I think Seth Rollins versus Cesaro might end up being Hell in a Cell, which I think would be a great rub for Cesaro, especially after tonight. It does. Think about it again, what I said earlier. WWE, not only had Roman Reigns beat him, but beat him clean. And then he gets annihilated by, not only from Jey Uso, but by Seth Rollins afterwards. Does it feel like Seth Rollins got elevated today? No, it's like, okay, we got that out of the way. Now he could go right back to where he was before. That's what it felt like. So I think Hell in a Cell will be the culmination, the final chapter of some of the feuds you see going on right now. On the women's side, they could very well do Bianca versus Bayley Hell in a Cell. I'm not sure about that. But as I said last week, we know Becky Lynch is on the cusp of returning. I personally would wait until July to have Becky Lynch come back. We're already in the middle of May. That's only 2 months away. If you're going to have Money in the Bank, I don't know if it's July 16th, but it's middle of July. But if Money in the Bank is going to be WWE's first pay-per-view with live fans, put Becky Lynch's return match on there, or make her make an appearance on there. I know some people think that SmackDown might be the first show with live fans. I tend to think Money in the Bank probably would be more apropos. I think that would be hyped up even more. I mean, I understand Fox, the big TV deal, the idea of doing live fans for the first time on Fox, but Fox is concerned about people watching it on TV. people showing up live. You know, so I don't think that actually comes into play. Chris says if Cesaro could talk, he would be unstoppable. Look, Cesaro is what he is. Antonio Cesaro is what he is. He's not going to, after all of these years, but I tell you this much. Think AJ Styles. AJ Styles, if you even listen to his promos when he first came into WWE, AJ Styles, you know, something clicked. And AJ Styles is, pardon my pun, phenomenal on the mic. Absolutely fabulous on the mic. That was one of his weak points coming into even WWE when he was at TNA and Impact Wrestling. In Japan, it was a little different, but he just aced it. Cesaro, at this stage in his career, he's got to be around 40 years old. I just don't see the transformation of him in the microphone department. Not everybody can ace it in the mic department. That doesn't take away the ability of Cesaro. Look at Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, I mean, some of his promos over as his career went on, he transformed. There are some wrestlers that something just clicks and gels and gets put together. Just does not feel the same way with Cesaro. You know, and then we got to remember Big E. Big E is a big part of this. I'm still convinced Big E will be the one feuding with Roman Reigns later on in the year. I mean, it would be really, really difficult to stretch Big E versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania next year. You almost feels like you have to do it much sooner. So I really believe the day after Hell in a Cell is going to really feel the beginning of the new season, if you want to look at it like that. Shout out to Crazy Cruiserweight. Cruiserweight, I put in your entry earlier. I think you might have actually won. I'm not making any promises, but, you know, tonight we were perfect with the predictions, and the tiebreaker might have actually won it too. Although, again, today's pay-per-view was extremely predictable, so I think a lot of people might have aced every match tonight. Do I remember last year when the report came when Rhea Ripley lost at Mania that it was all because of visa issues? Yeah, that ended up not being true. I mean, look, some people do make mistakes. I mean, it happens, but I do remember that. Rhea Ripley tonight versus Asuka versus Charlotte, you know, to me that felt flat. It felt like a Raw match, and some of it, the finish was so confusing. I mean, you know, obviously in storyline, you know, when you have a 2 count on pin attempts happen 10 times during a match, the other person does not think that, you know, someone else is going to be pinned. But Charlotte, like, gets out of the ring and just ducks out of dodge. And where is she to break up the pin? It's almost like she disappeared. The finish of tonight's women's match was pretty shitty, to be honest with you. I could not get into that match at all. I personally think, and I know this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but I think WWE needs Rhea Ripley to be Rhea Ripley. You know, so many of you agreed with me that when Charlotte was not going to compete at WrestleMania, WWE said, okay, we're going to have Rhea Ripley play the role of Charlotte. If you remember Rhea Ripley going into WrestleMania, like, we're looking at, it's like, why are they doing this attitude change with her, this different direction? They were so hell-bent on having a heel take on Asuka at WrestleMania, it felt like they made Rhea Ripley take the role of Charlotte. And then what happened after WrestleMania, it's like, okay, now what do we do? Now you got Charlotte back, and it's like, do we have Rhea Ripley feud with Charlotte? Do we have them agree with each other? Charlotte obviously is a lone wolf. She only cares about herself character-wise. But Rhea Ripley is just all over the place. I mean, even when you look at the fans, I mean, they piped in boos on the soundboard today. And it was pretty cool to hear a holy shit chant on the soundboard tonight, by the way. But Rhea Ripley, they pipe in all the boos on the soundboard, but you look in the background and a lot of fans are cheering her like this. You know, if you let Rhea Ripley be Rhea Ripley, I think her promos would be 1,000 times better. It's all over the place. And it feels a lot like that with Karrion Kross, which we've talked about before. Karrion Kross did it twice. Once was the worst. When he came out right after he won his championship, the NXT, the first episode after TakeOver, and the crowd is chanting tick-tock, tick-tock, and he takes the microphone, you remember, and he goes like this. Bianca did it tonight. When Bianca came in and they're piping in EST, EST, she took the microphone and went like this. You know, and that's a gesture like you're acknowledging the fans and you hear the cheers and you're soaking it in. So Karrion Kross does that, and WWE's piping in loud boos at the same time. You pick a direction and stick with it, because to me, they have really hurt Rhea Ripley. Let Rhea Ripley be, you know, an extension of what her character was in NXT. Just my opinion. James Campbell, can I see a Robert Roode singles push? Yes, he was excellent in TNA and NXT. I just feel that WWE does not see Robert Roode as somebody who could be a main eventer in the company. I don't know if anybody noticed it tonight, but Pat McAfee kept calling him Bobby Roode, and Michael Cole is calling him Robert Roode. I'm a fan of Robert Roode. I saw Robert Roode very early in his career wrestling at NYWC here in New York. Very, very talented. At this point in his career, even though he looks phenomenal and could still go as Dolph Ziggler, you know, at points, their job is to help elevate the stars of tomorrow. You know, Robert Roode, I could see him having some type of a singles career, but I don't know where that's going to lead. I feel it'll lead to more losses than wins. But, you know, I can understand why you feel the way you do with Robert Roode. He could still go. When you see him in the ring, you don't feel like this is a guy 5 years past his prime that can't go anymore, and he's there really to just elevate others. You know, WWE sometimes gets tempted, and I'm sure you all realize this. They get tempted where they have someone, Jeff Hardy might be a good example, but Jeff Hardy's at the stage of his career where he really shouldn't be doing the shit he did before. Jeff Hardy may not be a really good example. Maybe Jeff Hardy from 3 or 4 years ago would be a good example. But then again, that was, you know, he was doing his stuff in Impact Wrestling, which was phenomenal. But WWE, you know, when you get older in your career and you're past your prime, you know, WWE, as other promotions, they will use you to help put over the young stars of tomorrow. You help pave the way for the young stars of tomorrow. But what WWE has a habit of doing, probably more than any other promotion, is they'll get someone who is a little bit older, but can still do it. And in their mind, yeah, we can have Robert Roode put over Otis when Robert Roode is way past his prime. But if we have Robert Roode putting over Otis and Dominic and this person, and he could still go, it kind of makes in their mind that the person he's putting over has even better cred because, oh, he just beat a way over the hill Robert Roode. That's not impressive, you know, but you do it when Robert Roode is still good in his career. They think it helps elevate the other person even more. So I don't know. I'm not confident that WWE will use Robert Roode the way that we all would like to see him used. When we opened up the show today, I showed you this picture. And I'm sorry for offending anyone. You know, I couldn't help it, but I looked at these zombies in this picture, and I saw this one in particular, and I just said to myself, maybe his name is Sean. Oh, Sean. Sorry, couldn't help it. You know, we had a feeling tonight we were getting zombies because Batista tweeted this earlier. This was before the pay-per-view tonight. Wishing good luck to all the WWE superstars competing tonight at Backlash. Sorry I couldn't make it, but some of my friends will. And then he put hashtag Army of the Dead at WWE. And Batista did the vocals for the opening of tonight's pay-per-view. So now I'm thinking, okay, it's cool to hear Batista cutting, the promo for the opening sequence of the pay-per-view. And they show clips of his upcoming movie in the process. And I'm like, okay, little cross, platform, no problem. Why not? So we get that. Until we get a little bit of comedy later on, which I don't know was comedy for a lot of people out there, but John Morrison telling the Miz that he's going to talk to the Lumberjacks and, convince them to, help Miz win. And then Morrison opens up the door. We get an odd lighting in the background. And then we see this. Zombies. The zombies are the Lumberjacks. Yes, the zombies were the Lumberjacks. And I know I'm going a little bit ahead here, but I tell you, WWE was very smart about this. Because if you think about it, if the fans in Thunderdome absolutely hated this zombie shit, could you imagine having Thunderdome in the background, people going like this or like this, or just going, no. What they did was they took away the Thunderdome and they had the background, which was like a scene from Batista's upcoming movie. Oh, and by the way, that is supposed to be the zombies eating the Miz after the match was over. Eating the Miz. I didn't like it, but there was only one reason why I liked it. I think it was it wasn't Byron. It was Corey Graves that mentioned the ECW zombie. And you know me, for anybody that goes back with me a long time, anytime my friend Timmy Austin, the ECW zombie, gets name dropped in wrestling, it is a good day. I miss that man. He was a personal friend of mine. He did the wrestling hotline with me for about 3 years. I knew him personally. I was his insurance broker as well. We drove up and down the road together. That man had a heart of gold, and I'm still blown away that he is deceased. So, like I said, even though the zombie shit sucked tonight and was just really, really dopey, and yes, it was done to promote Batista's movie, but the fact that they got to name drop my friend tonight, once again, it was a good day. It was a really good day. So, by the way, speaking of friendly stuff, if you missed Friday's show, paid a little tribute to New Jack, who passed away. And I know some of you on the surface, tribute, what are you talking about? I put timestamps up for Friday. Tune in. I think you'll really enjoy what I put. A couple of, stories from yesteryear and some personal experiences with New Jack. So go check it out. And yes, I know that DJ Whitesox probably feels a lot. It was really cool to see a lot of the wrestling community, wrestlers themselves, come out and say, look, he obviously, had a gangster life. But at the end of the day, if you were New Jack's friend, he was a different person that was portrayed on TV. And like I said, when I get through putting all the audio stuff I have in my archives with New Jack and myself, and even the wrestling stuff that went on, people are going to say, wow, this is not the guy that I was always perceived. And Paul Heyman, I've done a little bullshit stuff for ECW back in the day, pushing tickets for them, got to meet him, hung out with people in the back here and there. And, I always put Paul Heyman at the top of my list. Don't see him cry all that much. And his tribute to New Jack was spectacular. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to lie to you, I was pretty surprised to see how emotional Paul Heyman got about his passing. But he did it during Talking Smack. So if you want to go check it out, it was incredible. It was incredible. It was real. It was real. It was straight from the heart. Me, I wasn't good friends with the guy. I mean, our interaction went back to 1996. 96. But I can only imagine how the people in the business that were very close with him, I can only imagine how they feel right now. So, but so there you go. Now, let's talk about the matches, because we've already gone 40 minutes. Let's fill in the blanks with these matches. Don't really need to spend a whole lot of time on them. But tonight, we had the pre-show, and Sheamus was going to do an open challenge. Now, last week, we thought Humberto Carrillo was injured. Dave Meltzer, the next day, said that, no, he's fine. And if they need him, he can fight. So now, all week, I'm saying to myself, okay, if Sheamus does another open challenge, Carrillo, Mansoor, especially Carrillo, because the way the match ended, he gets a rematch. Tonight, open challenge, we don't get Carrillo. And I'm almost feeling like, did they do that injury shit because they feel like, okay, we did enough with Carrillo for now. Now let's focus on someone else. But I don't know if you all saw this, but for me, what's starting to happen is that, I won't do it yet. Is this now a job requirement in order to fight Sheamus right now? We had Humberto Carrillo. You remember that spot? Then we had Mansoor, and you had that spot. And then tonight, Ricochet answered the challenge, and Ricochet has this spot. Is that now a job requirement? Seriously, in order to face Sheamus, you like WWE, the whole roster. All right, WWE, you want to take on Sheamus? You want your opportunity at the brass ring? Don't show me your tapes. Don't show me what you've done for us lately. Go in the mirror and take a selfie and go like this. The fuck is that? Do it once, okay. Do it twice, ha 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 ha. 3 times in a row. Now you know what's going to happen next. What are you going to do? Take turns? You're going to have Mansoor, Ricochet, and Humberto Carrillo. They're all going to attack Sheamus, and they're all going to take turns. They're going to take Sheamus's head and go like this. And, come on, man. Seriously. Yeah, Mansoor does need braces. He does need braces. Actually, no, he doesn't need braces, all right. He's got, his front teeth are a little bigger. It's a true fact. My front teeth aren't real. I have a 3-tooth bridge. So, but seriously, come on. I'm like looking, I'm like, okay, enough is enough. You know what this feels like? This feels like Michael Cole when he had his face against the plexiglass, like they couldn't resist, so they got to keep doing it. Enough. Like I'm saying to myself, like, who's the next person that's going to do that? So you're going to be like, so obviously I revealed it was Ricochet that came out tonight, took on Sheamus. Not a bad match, but Sheamus, nails him with the knee after the attempted bro kick, gets the win, and then almost like the carbon copy. And we've talked about that Raw and SmackDown carbon copied each other with finishes sometimes. On Friday, to cover up that Nakamura is getting buried even further. To cover it up, he grabs the crown, and Nakamura puts the crown on. Now, that might, as we talked about, might lead to King of the Ring, which may end up being a SmackDown special episode for Fox. But to turn away from the fact that Nakamura just lost again, he puts on the crown and Corbin stuff and, leaves. So tonight we have Ricochet do the same thing. Ricochet loses. He grabs Sheamus's hat, his outfit, or his jet, and trying to dress like Sheamus. Blah. Blah, 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 blah. So we get the main pay-per-view, and I'm clearing out some way. You know what's funny? I don't know if you see it. I accidentally, busted my lip open. I'm not kidding. I don't know if you could see it. Somehow when I stretched it, I actually, stretched part of my lip open. No sex for me tonight. Oh, Sean. Sorry, couldn't resist. So we get the opening match on the pay-per-view. A little surprising. The Raw women battle it out. By the way, if you're enjoying today's show, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. I always got to hide. Like, share, subscribe, smash that like button. The more you do it, the more YouTube promotes the shows, doesn't cost anything, much appreciated. By the way, for my channel members, I did half of the Q&A today, and tomorrow afternoon I'll do the other half and post it. And then later this week, we're going to do the T&A. It's going to be a Q&A, but instead of doing a video Q&A, I'm going to do text type responses back. So anyway, getting back to tonight, opening match, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Charlotte. The match to me fell flat. I know people still laugh at the face thing. It actually kind of hurts. You see how red my face is right now? I mean, look, if I'm on Raw and I'm getting TV exposure, even if I was just like a fan, like beat up it, do whatever you want. Rip my gums off, pull hairs out of my nose. That's painful. But man, this kind of like burns right now. But seriously, they're all making faces. Oh, could you picture Vince? He's got to do the face. Oh, next week we'll have him take on, I don't know, Jeff Hardy. Can you imagine Jeff Hardy doing that face? This match fell flat. I mean, it had its moments. Don't get me wrong. I mean, seeing all three of them work together. We've now seen Rhea Ripley and Asuka go at it in 3 matches, I would say. 3 at least, maybe 4. Yeah, it has to be 4, because we had the WrestleMania match. We had a match right after Mania that Charlotte showed up and I think beat up both of them. Then we had last week, which was Rhea and Asuka. And then tonight, they do not click together. They do not gel together. And Rhea Ripley is top shelf. I mean, I think a lot of people forget how much Rhea Ripley was clicking in NXT. I mean, I remember making that comment that I had the same vibes of Rhea Ripley towards the very end of her NXT run. I had the same vibes of Rhea Ripley that I had with Charlotte right before she left NXT. But she does not click with Asuka. And I really think they need to move away from Rhea Ripley and Asuka as soon as possible. Do I feel Asuka is getting buried? No, not at all. They have to bring Asuka back down, to the levels of everybody else. And the sad thing about it is, she's losing to Rhea Ripley. And she's losing technically to Charlotte. At least she's not losing to Dana Brooke or Mandy Rose or Lana. And that's not a disrespect to them. But, if you're going to lose, you lose to the best of the best. So I don't think Asuka is getting buried. I mean, we got spoiled with Asuka's run. I see people now saying like, oh, Asuka, she's in big trouble and this and that. I think people forget that Asuka was the MVP of Raw in 2020 during COVID. She took over everything. She wrestled with Kairi Sane. She wrestled singles. She wrestled multiple times on specific nights. Asuka was the MVP of Raw in 2020. Obviously, they have to start giving it to others. You have to. I mean, there's no other way to put it. What are you going to do? You're going to put Asuka on SmackDown? Then what happens to Bianca Belair and some others? So at some point, the focus is going to be taken off of Asuka. And if she's going to lose, let her lose to your prime top shelf talent. But today, the finish was just a mess. I mean, you had Charlotte Flair fall off the apron, okay? Rhea Ripley hits the riptide on Asuka. Where was Charlotte? I mean, what they should have done was they should have had a different camera shot to show that Charlotte hit the floor and was on the floor when the pin was made. I mean, the way it came off on the screen, it's like she disappeared. I mean, you hit the floor. I mean, it shouldn't have made her unconscious in storyline. The finish looked like a mess. And this is now 4 matches in a row that Asuka and Rhea Ripley are not gelling great together. And this is why also house shows are needed. I remember, and I'm sorry for bringing this up again, I said it a couple of weeks ago, but I remember especially in the 90s, more than anything else, you would hear rumors of two people having a feud, an upcoming feud. Let's say, I don't know, Diesel versus Shawn Michaels. Just saying. And they would have house show matches for 2-3 weeks. And every week it would be 1 or 2 house shows. And we would get the house show results. And you would have people that would send in reports. And because they would read house show results from the day before or a week earlier, they would pretty much write, oh, Shawn Michaels versus Diesel, pretty much the same match that you read yesterday, or pretty much. And the reason why that's done is not because WWF was lazy at the time or these wrestlers were lazy. The house shows are designed where you test things and you iron out the kinks and you experiment with the crowd and you try to improve this and improve that. And then when it really clicked, sometimes you had a deadline, a pay-per-view's coming up and there's a match already announced. You have to put it all together. But you would have like Sid versus Vader. And then you would hear them on the house shows for 2-3 weeks having almost the same match over and over again. And then you would sometimes hear, oh, there was a great spot when they did this. Oh, they did the same spot again. And then on the pay-per-view, they would do the spot. And we would see it for the first time. That's how house shows work. Here, they have to do it every single time on TV in front of our live viewing audience. No house show, no crowds in attendance. So that's why I give a little bit of a leeway, as far as some wrestlers. But right now, because you don't have the luxury of house shows where they could work things out and start improving and clicking things together, what you get on TV is what you get. So even though this match was not all that great, and even though the end result is what we expected, I give him a little bit of a pass. That's just me. I give a little bit of a pass. Brandon with the super chat. What's up, my friend? Thank you for the kind words. Do I think in 3 or 4 years from now we see Morrison and his wife Taya Valkyrie together on Raw or SmackDown in the future? Look, anything is possible. Anything is possible. I personally think that the first time that you see them, you might see them bump into each other in the back. Might be a pay-per-view, might be a show. I personally think it'll be a pay-per-view. This is obviously when Frankie Monet is on the main roster. Because right now, why would they cross paths? Unless Morrison makes an appearance in NXT and he's in the back and he's walking one way and Frankie Monet's walking the other and they put eye. Because I tell you, the one I always remember, and I'm sure some of you will remember as well, Triple H and Stephanie. I mean, yes, we had the storyline, when Triple H married Stephanie and all that, but there was a couple, like a year or two, where they really didn't interact. This is after they were married. And then there was one time where there was a backstage segment where they bumped into each other, or Triple H and Vince bumped into each other. And you were wondering if they were going to acknowledge their real life marriage on TV. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So anything is possible. I would say not now, but again, I think we're going to see more guest spots from the main roster on NXT. Won't happen every single month, but I think you will see a little bit more of some wrestlers popping up. And why not bring Morrison in NXT for a week or two? I mean, there's a couple of matches I think we could think of almost immediately that he would gel great with, especially since the MIZ may be taking some time off soon. I know no one has read that in the news, but MIZ may be taking a couple of weeks off soon. So if you don't want to explain, send Morrison show up in NXT for a week. So, moving on with the pay-per-view. Next match we had, Dominik and Rey versus Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode for the tag championships. And we all realized immediately there was some cosplay going on. Rey Mysterio looking a hell of a lot like Batman. And Dominik, too. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to get a good screenshot of Dominik. But if you look at this photo, Dominik kind of looking a little bit like the Joker. So, you know, this match actually was an okay match. You know, I think the problem is, before the pay-per-view started, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode attacked Dominik in the back. And the storyline was the physician said, no, you can't compete. Okay. So when we had the tag match, Dominik is in the back. Rey comes out to wrestle by himself against Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. And, you know, we've talked about it for several weeks now. WWE was going to make history. You were going to have the first ever father-son tag team champions in Rey and Dominik. You knew it was going to happen. The only question was when it would happen. And it was funny on Friday, because Friday when I did my predictions, when I did this match, I said, no. Rey and Dominik will win, but not yet. But then at the very end of the predictions, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to take that back, because I think to myself, especially with the Usos, they're going to be lurking for tag championships very, very soon. Who the Usos more inclined to take it off of, Dolph and Robert Roode or Rey and Dominik? And I went with Rey and Dominik to win it. But the way this played out on TV, you know, you had Dolph and Robert Roode dominating Rey Mysterio for a good part of this match. There was a really funny point in the match where Rey's knee, his right knee, was hurting outside the ring. No, his left knee was hurting outside the ring. And you hear Dolph Ziggler say audibly, like, I hope he's okay. And then he smashes the knee, which was funny. And, you know, there was even another great spot where they did the Famouser. Robert Roode held Rey up in the air and Dolph did the Famouser. But here comes Dominik, limping, coming to the ring. And you obviously could see this going one of two ways. Rey doesn't want Dominik there. He feels Dominik is injured, cannot compete. Maybe because Dominik can't compete, he cost the match. You pay attention to the storyline in recent weeks, that was part of the storyline. You know, that Dominik needed to listen to Rey a little bit more, and, you know, so you remember that back and forth. But then the opposite side was, they're going to make history. So if you're going to have Dominik make a comeback after getting attacked in the back and being taunted, you don't belong here. You don't belong. Robert Roode during the match tonight, you don't belong here. You know, obviously he's got to belong. So you realize when Dominik came out there and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode are not taking him seriously, you don't belong here. And then Dominik with the super kick to Dolph Ziggler knocks him on his ass. I tell you one thing, we had an awful lot of hot tags during this match that seemed to lead to nowhere. You have a hot tag, and the next thing you know, the person is down. Rey got the hot tag a couple of times and didn't mount to anything. But towards the very end of the match, Rey Mysterio with a 619 more towards the corner of the ring, which looked pretty creative. Rey Mysterio tags in Dominik, hot tag. Rey dives outside the ring onto Dolph Ziggler, takes him out, and Dominik with the frog splash, tribute to Eddie Guerrero. Dominik Mysterio pins Robert Roode, and they become the first ever father and son tag team champions. And I thought this was such a cool photo. Talk about a difference pretty much almost 20 years makes. I mean, that is pretty cool. I can't lie. I think that is pretty cool. I mean, Dominik Mysterio, he may not look like your typical, you know, wrestler. I mean, you look at his body and you feel like his face should have a little bit more to it. Either facial hair or maybe longer hair. You know, you remember Carrillo when he first came in? I said, trim that chunk of hair and give him facial hair. People that go back with me further, you might remember when Daniel Bryan first came in. I said, man, that guy, I think, needs a whole lot of facial hair. I mean, that's infamous on the shows, but Dominik's face doesn't seem to match his outfit, but the guy's done a great job. And, you know, before he came in, we heard training with Lance Storm. He actually could do it. Training with his father, Rey. Guy could do it. Now we're seeing he actually could. Is he one of the top wrestlers in the company? No. But Dominik, I think, earned this. And I know what you're going to say. You look at Tamina Snuka, and you see how long Tamina's been in WWE, and only now, you know, she's earned, you know, the right to be a tag team champion. I get it. But with Rey Mysterio, you got to understand, and I think a lot of you do already, that Rey Mysterio's years are numbered. Guy has had a crazy number of injuries throughout his career because of the style that he does. So there's no guarantee that Rey Mysterio is going to still be able to do it the way he is right now. So you strike while the iron is hot, and they won the belts tonight. And congrats to them. I thought they did a great job. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler looked spectacular as well. And I don't think anybody really had any problem whatsoever. So good for them. Now we'll see who they feud with next. Because remember, they're only the SmackDown tag champs. It's not like the women's division where they're the champ on both brands. So we'll probably get the same Otis and Chad Gable, maybe Street Profits. You know, we got to see. Personally, I think you might start seeing a little bit of teasing of the Usos returning to the ring, you know, together as a tag team to go for the titles. So we will see. We will see. All right, next match. Yeah. Not much to add what I said before. We had zombies around the ring. And I know a lot of people were predicting that Damian Priest was going to lose this one. I had no idea they were going to have the zombies around ringside. I know Batista's tweet earlier in the night kind of teased that it was going to be, you know, intertwined with his movie. But we had some zombies. You know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a gimmick. It's to put over the match, put over the movie. You know, Damian Priest won. It didn't go that long. And yes, it was goofy afterwards. The zombies are eating the Miz in the ring, and Morrison is outside the ring. You're like, help me. And he gets pulled down. It is what it is. You got Batista to narrate the beginning of WrestleMania Backlash. In return, WWE would promote the movie and intertwine the match with it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I think people are digging a little. Look, like I said, the fact that my friend was name dropped tonight made me feel good. I know it wasn't name dropped for all good reason, but the thing is, the match was quick. For me, it was a bathroom break. For me, it was, all right, just get it over with, done. It's to promote the movie, move on. I mean, we've had matches. Wasn't there a match where, like, didn't we have a match not too long ago where some type of chicken company was promoted, and you had, like, people eating, like, chicken around ringside, and using chicken and using coleslaw and stuff as weapons and stuff. You know, we've had products and movies get intertwined with a match before. It's not that big of a deal. You know, I think people are digging a little bit too deep, bringing up AEW and the exploding death match that ended in a you know, fizzles, you know, like a sparkler. You know, this was a blow off match. This was to promote a movie. Let it go. Wasn't that big of a deal. You know, the pay-per-view tonight, I'm not going to lie to you, other than one match, I don't really going to remember much from tonight. But to single-handedly destroy this, it was 4 minutes of your time. That's how I look at it. I didn't like it. Yes, KFC was one. Didn't AEW do it too? Didn't they have, was it Jiffy Jots or Diffy Dot. There was something they promoted. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I could have sworn they did a hardcore match, AEW, and they promoted. I know the brawl in the back where they went into this. I'm not talking about that, but when they still had live crowds, they did some type of thing where they're Cracker Barrel. Thank you. SoFly Cracker Barrel. Wasn't that big of a deal. Right? You know they were going to use Cracker Barrel product in it. Let's move. At least this is not, put it this way. If any of you that are newer fans out there that didn't endure the Raw guest hosts, this I could tolerate. Because the Raw guest host sometimes would go on throughout the whole show. I think of the Muppets right away. I fucking hated them. Sheamus with the thing looking at each other. I wanted to strangle those puppets. And look, I am a fan of the Muppets, obviously. That is before the controversy recently with cancel culture. Trust me, I had that up way before then. I don't know why, but hey. So Damian Priest beats the Miz. Let's just hope the Miz and Morrison don't show up on Raw as zombies. That's as long as we don't get that. Keep them off of TV for a week. How's that? Let's keep them off TV for a week. Moving on, Bayley versus Bianca Belair. Little tidbit that I think a lot of people still aren't aware of. When Bayley comes out for her matches, she will put her opponent mocking them on her hair. You'd be surprised on social media today. A lot of people weren't even aware of that. But this match was fun. I enjoyed this match while it lasted. I mean, I will admit that part of the end was a little bit sloppy. Trying to incorporate Bayley cheating a few times. There was one point where she did the ripcord using Bianca Belair's hair. She attempted the rose plant, and Bianca Belair reversed it. And then there was a little controversy because Bianca Belair used her own hair to get the win. Bayley was fuming afterwards. The match was fine. But for me, the match felt like a SmackDown match. Didn't feel like pay-per-view. For those taking part in the contests, the tiebreaker, I calculated 16 minutes and 4 seconds in this match. Up until this point, because Friday I said I thought Bianca and Bayley has the capability of stealing the show. I thought they did a fine job tonight. Bianca Belair is still new as champion. I know we are 4 to 5 weeks removed from WrestleMania, but they have to build storyline. And, despite things looking a lot better with COVID, we're still in COVID. We don't have live fans back in attendance. It's not the same, performing in front of LED screens. So now we have Hell in a Cell coming up. And I'm sorry for repeating what I said earlier, but Hell in a Cell, that could very well be technically WrestleMania as far as some storylines go. And again, I apologize for repeating what I said earlier. WrestleMania, is usually where some feuds end, and then the Raw after WrestleMania is where some different feuds begin. I think this year you're going to feel like Hell in a Cell is going to be the pay-per-view where feuds come to an end. And Bianca Belair versus Bayley, I think it deserves one additional pay-per-view. But I think a lot of people also want Sasha Banks back. Sasha Banks needs to come back. How would you all feel about Sasha versus Bayley versus Bianca at Hell in a Cell? They don't have to have a Hell in a Cell match. What about the idea of Sasha versus Bianca versus Bayley? The more I think about that, I kind of like the idea because Sasha Banks and Bayley in storyline obviously can't stand each other. So you get Sasha back and you have obviously a role for her, and she doesn't have to get along with Bayley. You could even tease during the match where Bayley and Sasha are on the same page for a few moments, and then Sasha could turn on Bayley or vice versa. I think triple threat is the way to go. I'll tell you this much. I think we would like Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Bianca Belair 1,000 times more than we would like Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and Charlotte. And that's not taking away anything of the ability of the Raw women. But I think that three-way would be fire. And it would be a very easy way to bring Sasha Banks back on TV. She doesn't have to come back and take on like Ruby Riott. Nothing against Ruby Riott, but you don't want Sasha Banks to come back and then it's obvious they can't figure out what to do with her. So you got to put her right back in. Look, I know a lot of you can't stand that Charlotte is still in the title hunt. She goes back on TV. She's right in the picture. But you look at Sasha Banks, and it's almost the same situation. You put Sasha Banks back on TV, you almost feel she's got to go. And I don't think anybody out there wants to see her and Bayley become a tag team again. Because then you got to go through the whole process again. If there's a falling out, somebody has to turn, and you don't want to go that route. So, Psycho, I agree with you, man. Stop with the triple threats. But right now, under the circumstances, again, because they're not touring and doing house shows, and there's limited, TV and limited exposure, you got to kind of, have more of the triple threats or the gauntlet matches and this and that. And it's not just about getting people on TV. You kind of have to go this route right now. So just an idea. We don't have to go with it. But obviously there's unfinished business the way Bianca Belair got the win today. But anybody out there that feels like Bianca Belair's title reign is a failure, I think you got to really take a step back for a minute because she's had one title defense. I mean, I think she deserves a little bit extra time, but I enjoyed this match tonight. I thought it was pretty damn good, and I thought it was going to steal the show the entire night until we got to this match. Watching Drew McIntyre hit a Michinoku driver on Braun Strowman said it all. I mean, yes, we had the special effects in the back, Bobby Lashley getting thrown into a screen and, some sparks go off, and it's a great visual. You might remember when they did that with Braun Strowman last year, also, I think Lashley too. Yeah, I mean, it just was phenomenal. So I'm a little surprised they don't do that a little bit more. And yes, if you do it all the time, it's not special. But for all of you out there that really were crapping on Braun Strowman, I mean, tonight was Braun Strowman's coming out party since his return. We've talked about it to death. He came back after injury. They already had WrestleMania pretty much locked up as far as the big matches. And he needed to do something with Braun. Shane McMahon became an option. The storyline was pretty weak. You're stupid, you're dumb, you're this, you're that. But in the end, the match I thought was decent. And Braun Strowman, since then, the guy has lost a lot of weight. I mean, you see some of the pictures he posts with him with the abs, and I mean, the guy is in incredible shape. What I think a lot of people don't know as much with Braun does a lot of cardio. He does a lot of cardio. And you're starting to see it, that this guy, somebody wrote in the chat that he's extremely agile. James Campbell wrote that. Braun Strowman has really, really turned it up a notch physically. And it is showing in the ring. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I invite you, go back about 3 years. You don't have to go back as far as when he first joined the Wyatt family. I'm not saying that far. You go back even 3 years. Look at some of the stuff that he feuded with Roman Reigns. You will see a substantial difference as far as how he moves, and it's phenomenal. But this match was physical, lots of spots, lots of feats of strength. Watching Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre picking up Braun Strowman for a suplex and keeping him up in the air. I mean, I know Braun lost some weight, but not that much weight. Seeing the Michinoku driver was freaking incredible. That sold it to me. I know it's mostly a body slam, but still, when you realize how big Strowman is to do something like that, the match was pretty damn good. And look, I'm not doing this to rub shit in, but I wanted to just remind everyone what I thought this match was going to end up being. And again, it's not, oh, you predicted it, but it just goes to show you that when a pay-per-view is too predictable, it takes away from some of the fun out of the matches. I mean, I know most of you out there expected Bobby Lashley to win, but the big question was how. And this is what I said on Friday. Bobby Lashley versus Drew versus Braun, triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley will retain. I think Braun Strowman was added to this mix for a bullshit finish. The only finish that comes to mind for me is we may see Drew McIntyre Claymore Braun Strowman, or Braun Strowman nails his finisher on Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley, who would have been laid out outside the ring for a little while, will immediately enter the ring, throw outside the ring whoever just landed their finisher, and Bobby Lashley will steal the victory. That's how I see it in my mind. I don't know if that will end up being the case, but Bobby Lashley will steal the victory right out of the hands of someone who is this close of winning the championship. And I'm not the only person that thought that. You could see, going into this, that it was going to be some bullshit finish. That's why I feel at Hell in a Cell, this has got to continue. I mean, coming out of this match tonight, Braun Strowman proved that he deserves to go with the upper tier guys right now. Drew McIntyre, obviously, he doesn't need to prove it. We've seen it for the last year and a half. Yes, COVID, it sucked. We know what transpired. Bobby Lashley has been doing a phenomenal job as well. So you do this for one more pay-per-view, I'm fine with it. I don't know if I would want them to be in the cell, but then again, seeing, Strowman, they one of them went through a table. One of them goes through the back and, you get sparks flying. And then you have, maybe the idea is lock them in a cage, let them kill each other inside the cage. Obviously, they wouldn't use that verbiage on TV. But I kind of like the idea of these three in a cage, locked, let them kill each other. And then whoever ends up on top, which I still think is Bobby Lashley. I don't think you take the title off of him right now. And then this could lead to something else. The only problem is they planted that seed with T-Bar and Mace. They're going to be back on Raw tomorrow or the following week. And I don't know if you just have them become a tag team and beat, the Viking Raiders or something, and then there's no more interaction with Braun and Drew. It feels like what they were doing was put on hold for 3 weeks. Now you got to lift the pause button. What do you do with these two guys? I mean, there's rumors of the draft. And that might be one of the ways to get them out of this storyline, because I don't see them as part of the Hurt Business. They broke up the Hurt Business because they wanted Bobby Lashley to be featured all by himself with a manager. So you're not going to put these two big men next to Bobby Lashley, because not for nothing, you have Bobby Lashley around guys as big as him, doesn't make Bobby Lashley look as special. So if you're going to do the draft, maybe you keep T-Bar and Mace off television and then draft them to SmackDown. Just an idea. Braun and Drew as a tag team, I like the idea, Twix. The problem is, okay, they might be able to have great chemistry with the Viking Raiders. You start thinking of the tag teams on Raw. Maybe Omos and AJ Styles, but they're so big. You know, when we had Big Show and Kane back in the day, or even Undertaker and Big Show, the Brothers of Destruction, you know, one of the problems that you would have is they were so much bigger than everyone else. It was sometimes a hard sell to see smaller guys, much smaller guys, going toe to toe with them. Right now, I don't know if that's as much of a problem because there's so many big men they have in that company. And remember, Jinder Mahal came back, and he's got two people in his corner who are huge. You know, Shanky and Verk. No, Verk and I forget the other name, but I know Shanky and someone else. RK Bro, you know, it's not that bad. I could see Riddle going toe-to-toe, and Randy Orton, we don't need to, you know, but I don't know what you do with T-Bar and Mace right now. So I think if you're going to keep these three guys going at it, do it for Hell in a Cell. Maybe you lock them in the cell. You know, you're only going to have probably 2 Hell in a Cell matches. I don't think you would have 3. So if you do 2, you probably do 1 on SmackDown and 1 on Raw. The big question is, what match do you do on SmackDown? I know a lot of people think the rematch, Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. I don't see that at all. Some people think, oh, this year it'll be Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso in Hell in a Cell. I don't know if I want to see that either. You know, so I'm thinking, all right, maybe you do consider, you know, the women's match in a cell. That'd be awfully, you know, violent and a big test for Bianca Belair. So let's see how it plays out. Right now, there's a couple of possibilities, but these 3 guys tore it up tonight. Basically, the finish was exactly what we expected. Drew McIntyre nails the Claymore. He's about to pin Braun Strowman for the championship. Bobby Lashley enters the ring. We didn't know where he was. He was laid out from the spot in the back. He throws McIntyre out of the ring. And I tell you, the only problem I had with it is that when he threw McIntyre out of the ring, you know, I don't understand why McIntyre just didn't run right back in the ring. You know, Bobby Lashley didn't just immediately pin Strowman. He actually set up and, you know, nailed the move. And, you know, he hit the spear. So, again, the finish with Charlotte came off kind of crappy on TV. And I got to say, the finish with this match, although exactly how we thought it was going to happen, like Drew McIntyre, there was too much time, you know, going down. Drew should have immediately ran right back in the ring. So, but Bobby Lashley retains. No issue with it whatsoever. If it's not broken, you don't try to fix it right now. And there's obviously unfinished business. Unfinished business. I could see Raw tomorrow. Drew McIntyre is this close of winning. And then Braun Strowman, you know, could make his case as well. Then we'll probably have Adam Pearce booking a match. So we'll see what happens. Earlier in the night, we had a little bit of interaction with Jimmy Uso. And, you know, when we were talking about Jimmy Uso's shirt on Friday, Nobody's Bitch, I did not put 2 and 2 together and realize that it's the same font as Jey Uso's shirt. And it's pretty funny when you see them right next to each other. Obviously, you couldn't put too many words on the shirt, but you could kind of like intertwine them. You know, I'm nobody's right-hand man. You know, so they went with Nobody's Bitch. Or you could have put like Right Bitch or something like that. Or Bitch Man. I'm the Bitch Man. But Jimmy Uso telling Roman Reigns, good luck tonight. You're going to need it. And we think Roman Reigns is going to get help from Jimmy Uso. And I honestly thought during the match, I thought we were going to get a DQ finish. I honestly thought, yeah, Austin, that's an awful lot of words, but nobody's right-hand man, bitch. You know what I would have done? I would have put on the front of the shirt, nobody's right-hand man, and then in the back of the shirt, put bitch. But, you know, I don't know how well that shirt will sell. I mean, especially if fans are not there in attendance right now. You know, people buy shirts sometimes and they buy the shirt so they could wear it live at the shows. I just don't see too many people walking around the streets with a shirt that says, nobody's bitch. You know? I don't know. But, hey, anybody buys it, good for you, man. I know I'm not buying it. You will not see me. I have a Beavis and Butthead. Some people were butthurt tonight. Beavis and Butthead wrestling shirt. You know, big fan of Beavis and Butthead, obviously. You can see him in the background. There you go. Right there. Favorite cartoon of all time. That's a little hint for the Q&A. Somebody asked that. But the main event tonight, look, we already talked about a lot of the match early on. Not much we could add to Beavis and Butthurt. The only thing, you know, really that we could add to what we said earlier is halfway through the match when they were selling Cesaro having an injury and his right arm was injured, and every time he tried to execute some power moves, the arm would give out. And Cesaro told a great story, as did Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns focusing on the arm. I like when Roman Reigns was focusing on the other arm, because if you have one arm that's kind of like flailing and you fuck up the other arm, you're just like this. Yeah, they have nothing to do. But halfway through the match, you know, and this is what I didn't like about it. If I was live in attendance, halfway through the match, I would have been doing this. I would have kept looking at the rampway. Okay, when is Jey Uso going to come out? Okay, when is Jimmy Uso going to come out? Okay, when is Seth Rollins going to come out? And you start thinking during the match that Cesaro is probably going to lock a submission move onto Roman Reigns, and then somebody's going to come out. And halfway through the match, because they were selling the story that Cesaro had the injured arm and Roman Reigns was working on it. And again, you follow Roman Reigns' whole championship reign for the most part, there's always been interference for the most part. You know, with the exception of his early feud with Jey Uso, there's always been interference. You look at his feud with Kevin Owens, you look at the stuff with Edge, you look at the stuff with Daniel Bryan, there was always something else going on. And you think, especially for Cesaro, who, you know, we're wondering, is he getting elevated to the next level? All right, we would not have liked the bullshit finish. I don't think any of us would have liked the DQ finish tonight, but at least there would have been another asterisk. All right, okay, Cesaro lost, but you know what? Jey Uso got involved. You know, we were wondering, is Jimmy Uso going to change his mind and help Roman Reigns win? So I'm expecting interference. Then, if there is interference, you could lead to Hell in a Cell. In fact, I just remembered the match that I thought about for Hell in a Cell. I think on the SmackDown side right now, the Hell in a Cell match that is needed is Seth Rollins versus Cesaro in the cage. Put them in Hell in a Cell. It would be really interesting to see what Cesaro would do in Hell in a Cell. You know, he's one of the most reliable, consistent. You know, he is, if you compare it to baseball, he's like a utility player. There's that one player that a lot of people have on the team that, oh, if you need him to fill this spot, he's got it. You need him to fill this spot, he's got it, and does great at what he does. But it feels like, to me, the only way you end the feud with Seth Rollins and Cesaro is inside Hell in a Cell. So now you ask yourself, okay, if that happens, what's the deal with Roman Reigns for Hell in a Cell? And since this match ended clean, Roman Reigns puts the guillotine on Cesaro, and that's it. Cesaro, he can't continue. I mean, for all of you out there that really We knew Cesaro wasn't going to win tonight. But for all of you out there that really felt, okay, here's the opportunity for Cesaro to get to the next level. Won't win tonight, but you know what? Cesaro could fight in the main event in the near future. We'd have no problem with it. And the way everything came out tonight, it just felt like they have no interest in putting, they do not believe inside that Cesaro is a main event guy. Sure, he'll probably main event a SmackDown here and there, as did Nakamura. But with Nakamura, once the Royal Rumble came and went, as did all that push that we thought he was getting. It just, I don't care that Cesaro passed out. He lost clean. He lost clean. There was no interference at all. And then to make matters worse, if they would have went off the air that way, it would have been different. But Jey Uso shows up. Let me have him. He puts the flowers over Roman Reigns' head. He says to Roman Reigns, let me have him. So Jey Uso starts beating the crap out of Cesaro. Let's bury him a little more. Then Seth Rollins' music hits. And when it hit, now I'm thinking of what was said on TV earlier today during the PBA show on Fox. And then Seth Rollins is smiling at Roman Reigns. Then he just destroys Cesaro. And it was funny because during the match, Roman Reigns is on the camera and he's, taunting Daniel Bryan, beating up your boy, destroying your boy. But Cesaro at the very end not only gets destroyed by Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins puts a chair in Cesaro's arm, the bad arm, smashes it into the ring post. And you have three guys that beat the shit out of Cesaro and left him laying. Now, I know what you're going to say. If Cesaro shows up on SmackDown with a bandaged arm, then you could say, wow, he got, his ass handed to him from three different guys, and look, I'm still standing. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that on Friday. He cuts, a promo as he can only cut. I'm still standing. You're going to have to do a lot more than that. And then maybe they announce Hell in a Cell. Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. But here's the problem with that. Seth Rollins takes on Cesaro, Hell in a Cell. That means Cesaro's run fighting for the title is already done. It's done. It felt like, this is what it felt like tonight. Okay, let's give the fans what they want. Let's give Cesaro his moment. Okay, he lost. Now let's divert the attention from that as quickly as possible. Having Seth Rollins beat the crap out of Cesaro and having Jey Uso beat the crap out of Cesaro is shifting the attention from Roman Reigns to someone else. That's how it feels. No, look, Psycho, do I think Cesaro's push is dead? No. But his push as a possible heavyweight champion is done. He could win Hell in a Cell. Hell, he could annihilate Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell. But in the overall picture, the overall scope of things, his chance of being a heavyweight champion right now, no chance. Quote Vince McMahon's song, no chance in hell. No chance. And it's, it is what it is. Look, right now I think we all agree, I don't think anybody should be dethroning Roman Reigns right now. That's why, if you remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said, I don't particularly like Cesaro feuding with Roman Reigns right now. Remember what I said on Friday? If Cesaro was feuding with Drew McIntyre or somebody from Raw, maybe I would feel a little bit different. But Roman Reigns, it's like hitting the brick wall. Who was it? Who was it that I said they ran into the orange wall? Who was it that, I'm trying to remember who it was. Was that with Becky Lynch? Somebody was brought to the main roster and had all this crazy-ass momentum, and then I said they hit the orange wall. Does anybody remember who I was talking about? Because that's what it feels like with Cesaro today. Shayna Baszler, I don't know if it was Shayna Baszler. No, I don't think it was Shayna because Shayna wasn't really feud. Well, you know what? The biting stuff and all that. Yeah, it might have been Shayna Baszler. Yeah, I think you're right, Austin. The more I think about it. Shayna Baszler had all this momentum, and then she hit the orange wall. And that was it. That was it. I mean, because there was no chance that Shayna was going to go over on that. So Cesaro, I didn't particularly like the idea. They put on a great match tonight, told a great story. And the outcome is pretty much what we expected. But what we were concerned about is how do they get to the outcome? And to me, in the process, they pretty much said to everyone, all right, here's Cesaro's title shot. That's it. Now he's back with Seth Rollins, or he's back with Jey Uso, and maybe he'll still linger in the tag team match or something on a SmackDown main event, but in the overall picture, Cesaro's chance of getting a heavyweight title run is nowhere remotely close right now. So that's it. We got his title shot tonight, and, you know, he put on a great performance. Took 10 years to get it, but he got it. Twix, if I knew the perfect answer as far as Cesaro's push or lack thereof up until this point, then I should be working for them. I can't explain some of it. Hey, at least he had a pretty hot girl at one point. Remember? He came in. Who's his girlfriend? Oksana. He stole Oksana from Teddy Long. That was pretty epic. That's why I honestly didn't like Teddy Long making a stipulation for Cesaro last week, you know, or 2 weeks ago. Because storyline, Teddy Long should despise Cesaro for taking his girlfriend. So, who's under the Muppets? Could somebody out there... Someone in the chat room, school him, tell him who this is. How do you not know who this is? We want to see him annihilate Orange Cassidy. This is going to be Orange Cassidy's bitch. Chat room, tell him. Shame on you for not knowing who this is. Seriously, I want to see him destroy Orange Cassidy, man. So, anyway. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, Minoru Suzuki, by the way. On a scale of 1 to 10 tonight, I give the pay-per-view 6.5. You go through the matches. The zombie stuff was dumb. The opening women's match was average at best. Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, I thought killed it. Easily my favorite match of the night. Least favorite was Miz and Damian Priest. That just felt unnecessary. The Mysterios winning the titles was nice. Dominic just hitting the frog splash and nothing else for the most part and getting the pin I thought was a little bit lacking. But they made history. Maybe I give it a 7. You know, I'll give it a 7. Because, you know, you put the zombie stuff aside. The other matches, they were not horrible. Nothing tonight really was horrible. But, you know, I didn't like how they treated Cesaro in this match. So I'll give it a 7. So tell me what you thought. We're going to wrap this up. Hour and 40 minutes to cover a 6-match pay-per-view plus the Sheamus pre-show. I think is very fair. I will be here tomorrow night with Mish. I will give Mish the floor for a few minutes. He could comment a little bit on the pay-per-view. I don't know if he did a recap tonight or not, but I appreciate all of your support as always. Thank you very much. Fun week. I got to tell you, looking back this past week, especially under the circumstances with my stuff going on medically, I had a really nice time this week. And I know I sound like a broken record, but once again, if you enjoyed tonight's show, smash that like button. The more you do it, more telling YouTube that you enjoy the shows, they will recommend it to others. And for my audio-only friends out there, I thank you always for the support. To my... Why is it not showing up? Hold on. Oh, I know why. There we go. second. Got to give a special shout out to our channel members. The top of our YouTube channel members, the bottom is La Nostra Familia, my great family, my VIPers over here. So you're great people. If any of you out there want to become a channel member, no pressure, not trying to force anybody, but right on all my videos, you might see a word that says join. Click on it, check out the video. It gives you like custom emojis and stuff like that. I mean, I don't, break the bank on anyone. You could sign up for like $1.99 or something like that. But we do Q&As. We did a predictions contest tonight. I have no idea who won. I will tell you, because there's so few channel members, I will have the winner announced by tomorrow night. So you will definitely have your winner, and congrats to whoever won. Patreon's a little different because we do get more than 100 entries on Patreon. So that will take me a couple extra days to calculate all the numbers. Brandon, let me just say this as far as my health goes. I have to get a biopsy done with the prostate stuff. So I got to go back to 26th. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't even want to Google it. All I know is, like I said, even though Mish thinks I'm nuts, if it is what we fear it is, I'd rather it happen now and let's just knock this shit out of the park and forget about it, because the last thing I want to do is go another year and then in the back of my mind worry or wonder during the year, am I going to get sick? Am I going to get sick? Because I'll end up getting sick, being worried about getting sick, if that makes any sense. But honestly, I feel great, and having fun doing these shows, and I appreciate all of you that hang out as well. I feel like we're starting to get into a nice little groove, and I'm going to be adding to the channel very, very shortly. We're going to start taking calls, definitely. We're going to start small and then work our way up, because I'm the only one running the helm, so it's not as easy, to do. We're going to start taking calls for sure, so thank you, Brandon, for that. And just a random comment, John Poirier, my favorite cheese. Mozzarella cheese. Pizza is my favorite food. Being on keto, obviously I have to compromise with the ingredients of the pizza, but mozzarella cheese is my go-to. I like provolone. Believe it or not, I used to love Swiss Lorraine. I don't know if anyone out there has ever had Swiss Lorraine. It's not Jarlsberg. It's Swiss Lorraine, has the tiny, 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 tiny little holes. Oh my God. Take that, 2 slices of bread, like a grilled cheese sandwich with butter on each side. Oh, easily. But I will tell you also, I am a huge fan of grated cheese, Pecorino Romano or Locatelli. Absolutely love. I could put mounds. In fact, when I even make like my keto pasta, I'll put a huge layer of grated cheese on the first top of the spaghetti. Once I eat the top layer, I put another giant layer of grated cheese. I eat so much grated cheese. I probably, even though I'm on keto and I lost some weight, I probably would be another 10 pounds lighter if I didn't eat grated cheese. That's how much I like grated cheese. So cheese is good. We end the show talking about cheese. Can't get better than that. So everyone, I hope you have a great night. In the comment section, because I do respond to everybody. Let me know, how you felt about the pay-per-view tonight. Favorite match, least favorite match. How do you feel about Cesaro? And you're on the same page as me. What do you think the Hell in a Cell matches will be? Pick one from Raw, one from SmackDown. If anyone out there ends up nailing it, you'll get some bragging rights. I promise I will bring it up. And again, tomorrow, Monday night, 11:05 p.m., Mish and yours truly will be right back here for Breakfast Soup Raw. And we'll see what happens on Raw tomorrow. I mean, so far, a lot of it feels predictable. Expect, Drew to come out there and complain, and, maybe Braun's music hits and he comes out there, and then maybe Bobby Lashley's music hits, or Adam Pearce comes out, sets that shit up. I'm telling you, I really believe within the next week or two, we will have some update as far as Bray Wyatt and TV. Not necessarily saying that he'll be on TV, but I think we will have some specific news on that. I know what's been circulating the last couple of days, and I addressed it on Thursday, but I am taking the more respectable route. I'm not going to assume just because somebody thinks they know what it is, that people are reporting it, that it is that. And yeah, we'll see what else goes on tomorrow. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to jet out of here. Wow, it's not even midnight. Good. I get to go to sleep a little early tonight. So, and my face does feel a lot better from earlier. Stretching your face like that does not feel good. And trust me, I think when Sheamus does it, he's not doing it with kid fingers. I think he is truly yanking it to maximize the effect on TV. And honestly, even if it's hurting those guys, think of Mansoor, think of Carrillo, and think of Ricochet. And you know they're all thinking the same thing. Ow, that hurts, but I'm on fucking TV. Ow, it hurts, I'm on TV. You know, like they're smiling. Like, hey. Would have been funny if they did that to like Billy Kay or someone like that, you know. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble. Good night, everybody. Much love as always. I see you tomorrow night after Raw. Ciao.